It recorded my fart. That was funny. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2 of the PewHub podcast, the PewCast, the Hub Pod. It's a working title, we'll get back to it. Thank you very much for joining us today. Obviously, you have me, Rob, behind the camera, and obviously, as always, joined today is my co-host, my beautiful, esteemed co-host, that is Mike. You might know him as Mike. So today, obviously, we're going to talk about part 2 of getting started in Airsoft. We did a video on this last summer, I think it was, and that's loadouts. What should you get started? Like, you know, you get started in Airsoft. You decide you really like the site you go to. You've rented your guns for a couple of months, maybe, and then you think, no, I've got my defense. I'm able to get something I want. The big question is, what do I get? So, Mike, what should people get right off the bat?
Right off the bat, the first 2 things any self-selecting airsofters should start with is decent footwear and decent eyewear. Before you think about a gun, and it sounds really counterintuitive, most people just want a gun straight off the bat. I would rather rent a couple of extra games and keep my eyes and stop my ankles breaking. A decent pair of boots will turn a break into a sprain and a sprain into nothing. So, get your army surplus. Even if you're buying a pair of second-hand military boots, they're still going to do them up nice and tight. They're going to hold your foot together while you're playing. This is for indoor as well as outdoor. They've got a deeper tread to them. One of the biggest problems with playing indoors is there's no mud to trample those BB into. It's hard floor against hard sole of foot, and it doesn't take long. It feels like you're skating on ice. So decent footwear, decent eyewear. Remember, you only have one set of eyes, and I'm really mirroring what I said in the last one, and I will continue to hammer the point in because I think it's the most important thing is feet and eyes. Guns you can rent, but you can't rent new eyes, basically. Okay. In terms of gun, there is no real this is the gun, which you won't get if you go on Facebook and say I'm starting. What should I get? You're going to have all sorts of stuff recommended to you, like G&G combat machines, Cymer. The truth is that everyone's right and everyone's wrong. Someone recently said the answer to every question is yes, and I fundamentally disagree with that. I think you can say no, but you can say it you can say or tell someone they're wrong, but positively. And actually, that's what we need to do as airsofters. So when you look at a first gun, first of all, you want something. You want to work out what your budget is, and you want to work out what the style of gun you like is, because airsoft guns are totally different to the real world guns. It's not that like an AK is better than an MP5 and an M4 is better than that and an SA8 is worse than them all. Anything like that. It's entirely down to what's inside. And once you find like the actual style of the gun, it's the clothing. And once you find out what clothing you like, we can get the internals to make it. You find one with decent internals. You'd be surprised what you can get for a decent budget. G&G combat machines are actually quite good. They either run forever or run long enough until you got some money to buy a new one anyway. Cymer have upped their game. I remember when Cymer came in and they were they were known as clones and they weren't particularly good, but they're fairly solid now. And the truth is, it's pick something you like, because if you settle for an M4 but you really like an AK, you're just going to be disappointed every time you use that M4. So it's a really difficult one, because there isn't like this is what you should go out and buy, because we all have our favourite brands, and this is where no one's wrong on that. Is combat machines are perfectly good. The kind of lower end Cyber stuff's perfectly good. Classic Army's okay. There's loads of these brands out there. well, actually, they're actually quite good. Even like Jing Jong G36s, the only two things that are going to survive a nuclear explosion are cockroaches and the Jing Jong G36. They're almost impossible to break. They're brilliant first guns. They're really affordable, probably about £100-120-ish. Being a G36, if you want to, you can get an M4 mag adapter for it and run M4 mags. When people are coming to buy off me, I do quite often suggest something that takes Stanag or M4 mags. On just a practical note, because if you're just starting off and you don't want to spend loads and loads of money, Stanag mags are 10 to a penny. Normally you got someone selling old high caps for a couple of quid each, but you can pick them up new for about a tenner. If you want to get mid caps, you can get mid caps really, really cheap as well. But the key thing is when you start thinking about tack gear, the vast majority of tack gear we are going to get in this country takes those magazines. You can go to an army surplus and buy a cheap set of webbing, a cheap Osprey vest, tack vest. And again, I think I said this in the last video, but it is true. But if you really like a G36, you really like a P90, you can still get them with the M4 mag adapter if you want to. But the key thing is, the most important thing is get something that is going to make you smile every time you pick it up. If you're like me, I like something a bit unique. I like something that makes me stand out, and I pick those guns, and I quite often have to pay a premium for that, and I'm aware of it and I know it. If you can afford to, I would look at the G&G, VFC VR16 range. They're a little bit more money, but if you can afford it, they are worth spending the extra on, because the first thing you get is one of the biggest warranties in Airsoft. Last time I checked, it was 12 months. I'm pretty sure it still is. I will double check that before this goes out, and we'll add it in the notes of the video to confirm that. But they're actually really good. You get a stonking warranty. The bodies are quite good, and the internals are not as bad as everyone makes out. They're not the best internals, but I've never had a real problem with one.
Yeah. Actually, I was interesting, like the way we were planning on doing this, because I noticed Mark from Red Wolf, he did a poll thing on Instagram, and someone was just like, what's the best starter gun for less than $150 US? Obviously that's probably about pretty much the same, pretty much one for one at this point. But what I thought was quite interesting is that he selected the Ares Amoeba something. I can't remember what it was. It was for $175, but I thought that was quite an interesting selection for him to then decide to actually go, because like you said, most people talk about G&G, Zhongjing and stuff like that, but then coming out with an Ares as a good starter gun, that's a good idea.
They're like a sleeper brand for me, because you kind of always forget. I know I do. You kind of always forget they're out there when you're talking about this. But they've produced some really stonking kit. Easy to forget exists. But mine, in terms of if you want a decent starter gun, many years ago I was working at Bristol Airsoft, and we were running the shop there. And Umarex done a special offer on the two-tone Sportline G36, MP5 and UMP. We ended up with storing full of bloody things. I got my brother and a friend of mine who just started Airsoft the G36s, and this would have been probably about 7 years ago. They're both still going strong. They've not had any work done to them. All that's happened, they've been serviced. And they're going strong. They're cracking bits of kit. And they're made by S&T. And S&T are another one of those brands which you don't really hear massive amount about, but some of what they're producing is fantastic. Yeah. And they work with Ares a little bit, very unofficially, but they tend to do a little bit with Ares. And you find they share some parts and stuff. Cause I believe there was a relationship back in the day. But there's still kind of a friendship there, but not a relationship that once was. So, as I said, I would put them up there. If you want kind of a first gun for under 150 quid, if you can find them, they are amazing. They come out under the Umarex brand, but they were made by S&T. Absolutely phenomenal. If you're talking you want someone who's really, really new, the S&T UMP45 has a design fault in the magazine, which makes it perfect for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So for anyone out there who uses high caps, knows that little click you get when the mag's fully wound on, and it means you've wound the mag to capacity. And if you keep going past that click, you can actually damage the magazine. Well, the UMP45 mag made by S&T has a design fault where you cannot overwind it, and you can't damage the mag like that. They're completely unique. They're still railed, so you can still put tack lights, lasers, grips, launchers, whatever you want on. They obviously in a short design for CQB, you can fold the stock round to make it nice and short, but they're still actually just as good outdoors because they're still stonking bits of kit, and you don't really need to do anything to them out of the box to get them firing well, other than adjust the hop.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, if you're starting out, if you want your first gun, work out what you like the look of, and go to a site and start talking to people. One of the great things about airsoft sites, if you see a gun you like, have a chat with someone. Say, do you mind if I pick your gun up and have a look? You're going to hear a lot from people about Spectre Arms. Spectre Arms are actually a real up-and-coming brand. E&L. Talk to people. Talk to people on site, because if you're at this point, you played a few games, airsofters will, they're vain, they love showing their kit off.
Yeah, and also I was thinking, moving away a little bit from like obviously with from like primaries, if you will, moving away from primaries even though, would you even, do you even need to get a pistol straight off the bat? No, is the short answer. It really, if you really, really want a pistol, buy a pistol. But from experience, what a lot of people do when they first start off is, if they draw their pistol, it's a conscious shoot my pistol. You're right there. Yeah, pardon me. I'll just.
You tend to find most people when they start out, they're kind of still getting the grips with using their rifle in the game, and they always forget they've got their pistol. And if they do fire it, as I said, it's I'm going to use my pistol now, rather than the more natural transition because it's the right thing to use, the right tool for in that moment, or because you've run out, your mag's empty, and it's quicker to draw than load a new mag. So you don't have to get one, you don't need to, but likewise, if you can afford it and you really want one, get one. And the same with pistols goes with rifles. Find something you like. The one of the biggest selling pistols is the WE Glock, because in fact you've got one.
Yeah.
They work. There's not they're not the best pistol on the market, no matter what people tell you. It's not the best pistol, but for the money, when you're talking just around about the £100 mark, you can't go wrong because they work. They're easy to get mags for, and the mags are relatively cheap. Because it's a Glock, it's easy to get holsters for. It's a standard British Army pistol, so you can get Army holsters. You can get ex-police holsters, because most police forces use the Glock. There's only a few that use something different. So that's kind of the practical side. But then you get tarts like me, and I like 1911s. I'm a big fan of 1911s. In fact, I've got my new one here. I've got the new VFC LAPD SWAT Custom 2 Kimber. It's officially, I think, the longest name in the world for a pistol. It's absolutely gorgeous. We'll cover this another time. I'm going to do a comparison between this and one of the new Newpro 1911s to show that this is better. But yeah, the truth is you don't need it, but do you know what, again, if it puts a smile on your face, if you want to carry a pistol around, you get one.
Yeah, and obviously in terms, and like moving a little bit on from that, you obviously, practically speaking, it's quicker to transition to a pistol than it is to reload.
When you're used to doing it.
Well, yeah.
it's not when you're not used to doing it, and this is where experience comes in, playing a bit more. I mean, those of us that have been into things like practical pistol, we've trained to draw pistols. If you're not used to it, even kind of special forces do transition drills. So yes, it's quicker, but only when you know how to do it properly. If that makes sense, because if you don't, you end up your rifle getting in the way, and so it does take a bit of practice. When you get it right, it's so much quicker to draw your pistol.
Yeah, like have you seen the?
It's when you play Call of Duty.
Have you seen the videos on Instagram of that kid? I think it's Liku Tactical. Have you seen his transition drills?
Yes.
They're insane.
Yeah, but that's practice. And you can get fast if they learn to do it properly and practice.
Yeah, I mean, like I think he ended up getting so much traction online that he ended up being shipped to, like, flown out to the States from Japan, because I think he's a Japanese airsofter, and he got shipped out to TRex Arms. Yeah, and they shot a whole, I think it was 1 or 2 videos with him, and basically it was just like, do the skills cross over? I mean, to be fair, that is a discussion that we could have in a completely different episode for. It is, do the skills you learn in Airsoft translate?
Yeah.
But just as a quick aside, it was really good.
Firstly, do real steel skills translate, because that's a really interesting one. It's not as cut and dry as people think.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, so we've discussed primaries, we've discussed secondaries. Where do you stand on the plate carrier versus battle belt debate?
I really like a battle. I grew up with webbing, so I really like battle belt. But I also have a plate carrier. Plate carrier is, it's more versatile to a degree, but I find battle belt a lot more comfortable. What I used to do when I carried a 4-on-7 is I'd have, quite a few mag pouches, dump pouch, pistols, etc. on a battle belt, and then I have a plate carrier with kind of the other stuff on. And we were doing some milsims at the time, and we were kind of a bit more sneaky. We quite often booked in as recce, and the idea being I could kind of ditch the plate carrier and move in with less kit on, so it was easier to move around. They can be a bit restrictive, but then it's about finding the right plate carrier for you. There's so many different styles, sizes. It's about how you set them up. This is this is one where no one's right or wrong. Do you know what? If you really like a plate carrier, then the plate carrier is great. If you really like a battle belt, I used to do a mixture of the two. Yeah. And a lot of that was so I could ditch the plate carrier. Where plate carriers are good, if you play CQB, it acts like body armour and helps take the sting out when you get shot. And if the truth be known, I do wear a plate carrier for CQB just for that fact. I don't need it, because you don't really need that much ammo playing CQB. You could do it easily on a battle belt, but having that added padding means, when you get shot at close range, it's not going to affect you as much.
Yeah, especially when you have like a few pistols or CQB, PDWs that can have like FPS of up to 200 to 300.
2 to 300, you're looking 3 to 350 UKC.
Yeah. Even I wouldn't want to get that at 3 meters away from my chest.
3 meters, mate. You need to come do some CQB with us. 3 meters, that's long distance. You are talking, you can reach out and stroke the person. The whole other thing with CQB is it's got to be close, If you come to the college in Chippenham, you step into a corridor, you could have someone less than a metre away from you. Bang roll. The bang roll's a really controversial one, which is going to be it's a whole nother subject. But, you're getting shot at point blank range, so plate carriers can be really good for that. But also it depends there's so many people play airsoft for different reasons. I think we touched in the other video about some people really enjoy kind of the dressing up side of it. So they're going to wear plate carriers because they want to look like a British soldier. They want to look like a Navy SEAL, and that's what they wear. And that's absolutely fine. If that's what puts a smile on someone's face, makes them come home thinking that was a good day, fair play to them. I go for comfort in all of it. I'm not bothered if I look more special needs in the special forces, as long as I'm comfortable and I enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. It's just like, I personally wear a plate carrier. I don't think I have... but then again, I don't think I've really given the whole battle belt enough of a chance, because the way that I see it is like, a battle belt... I don't know about you, but I have no hips. So like, a battle belt doesn't really do anything for me, because I'm constantly in the kind of camp of, is it just going to slip down and take the trousers down with them?
This is where you probably want to look at more old school webbing, where you've got a yoke that comes up the shoulders, and it stops that happening.
Yeah, but I think that's personally why I prefer to have maybe a battle belt to put, like, I don't know, a pistol on and the dump bag.
Again, all of this is horses for courses. What suits you might. It comes down to what I said. It's like helmets. Some people love helmets. I don't. I'll wear one if I have to, but I actually overheat my head colour. I don't like wearing gloves because my hands get clammy, but other people, I will occasionally wear them just so I have more scars on my knuckles. But it comes down to personal preference and the reason you play airsoft. As I said, some people, they just want to shoot. They just want to run around with a toy gun, shoot at people and have fun. Some people really want the realism, and some of the realism is dressing up and having the right equipment. Mm-hmm. Both are right. Absolutely, both are right.
Yeah, I think so. What we originally were going to do is we were also going to have some questions. So what we did it on. So this week we posted on Facebook, and a couple of people actually messaged us to ask some questions related to getting started in airsoft and any questions they have. Were you going to say something?
I said on Instagram as well.
Yeah, we put something out on Instagram just to say, what would you like to ask us? And we've got a couple of questions here. One of them is, I want to play at a CQB site. What primary and secondary would you recommend and why?
Okay, again, this is a huge one. For CQB, everyone's going to say start with something a bit shorter. If you're, there's going to be several answers to this because it really depends if you're starting airsoft and starting in CQB. I would say go for something like an M4 carbine sort of size weapon, because you're going to be able to take it outdoors and it perform well outdoors as well. Okay, because you want to bear in mind that you want to use that for multiple events. Whereas if you're already playing but you've got you play woodland games outdoors and you're a support gunner or a sniper or you've got an SLR, so basically something the same size as you, and you want something a bit smaller, then I would advise you looking at something smaller. Aries do a series of what are essentially M4 pistols. They're about the size of an MP5K, but they've got, some of them have got like different types of stock on. They're all just internally the same gun. It's down to which one you like the look of. You've got MP5s, MP5Ks, and again, this comes down to what I said about buying your first gun, is what do you like the look of. On a practical thing, if you use an M4 based weapon as your outdoor gun, get an M4 based for your indoor gun, because then you can use the same tack gear you use when you play outdoors, and you can use all the same magazines, and you just get one that's a bit shorter. So you've got things like the Aries Honey Badger. Neutral have their version, which is the Spec Ops. Mm-hmm. It's an Aries Honey Badger with a different name on the box. There's a little shock for you there. It is actually made by Aries. They just put a Neutral sticker on it. They're exceptional guns. They've got the electronic. You can get the electronic fire control unit to set the. You can have it like a single shot, 2-3 round burst. Or also you can actually set each fire mode to what you want, because most types are single shot only. So you can actually program it to be safe, single shot. So if you knock the fire select on your webbing, on a pouch, it doesn't go to auto by accident and you end up hosing someone at close range, because it's not a good way to make friends. But and if you're an AK lover, you can get short AKs. You can get anything from the Beta Spetsnaz to the Baby AK to just some short cut down AK-47s. It really does come down to what you like. In regards to secondaries, if you want to go cheap, you're on a budget, Springer shotgun. I've had some amazing, fun CQB sessions with a Springer shotgun, a handful of shells, and a speed loader in my pocket. You can pick up Springer shotguns for like 50-60 quid-ish. Another set of shells from 15 quid-ish. That keeps you going. So the shell's got 30 shots in. Tri-shot shotgun, obviously 3 shots. So each one is like a 10-round mag. They're a huge amount of fun. And one of the great things with Springer shotguns, you don't have batteries to mess around with. You don't have to keep gassing it up. If you go in shotgun, obviously you can go for a gas one. If you do, bear in mind there isn't a gas shotgun on the market that doesn't leak like a sieve. Even the TM ones will leak, because so all of the gas shotguns on the market are direct clones from TM, or they are TM. It was the Secutor range that came out first, and now we've got the Golden Eagle, which are the Secutor shotguns with different clothing on, because Golden Eagle made them for Secutor. And they just took the TM design and copied it with cheaper materials. So all the design faults in the TM, you've now got in the cheaper ones, but made with cheaper materials. So it's kind of enhanced those faults. Now they're still really good if you look after them, if you don't overgas them. And that was part of the problem with the TM ones. It was people overgassing or using high pressure gas started to damage the gas tanks, which is why aftermarket companies brought out better gas tanks, and it kind of dealt with the issue. They take a bit of maintenance to keep, because it's a lot of rubber seals you need to look after, but they're just as good. When it comes to sidearm, get something you like. I said I'm a 1911 person. I actually doing CQB, I'm a glutton for punishment. You'll quite often see me with just a pistol these days. I feel much more comfortable moving with just a pistol. Couple of mags, I'm even toying with a carbine kit to go on my pistol, so I can put a few accessories on, like a decent tack light and, a few odds and ends to make it rock a little bit more than it does already. But the answer is always going to be, what do you like the look of? How much do you want to spend? Come and have a chat with me. We'll find you what is right for you. And so if you prefer pistols, get yourself a decent pistol, because that's great for CQB. There's only a handful of CQB sites I've been to in the UK where pistol isn't king, and that would be South Coast CQB, because there's a lot of outside. The jail for some parts, because that's got quite a bit of outside. But if you're playing at Spartan CQB, if you're playing in the courts at Bristol Airsoft, and even Strike Force in Gloucester, the UCAT prisons, actually pistols are really good. They're really, really easy to manoeuvre around corners, really quick to get your sight picture. Mag capacity is a bit of an issue, but what I find, the lower your mag capacity, the more you learn to aim, because you spray and BB down a corridor and you start taking much more aim shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really whatever you want. Just do a bit of research and think about what your budget is. But if you really are on a budget and you want to start a CQB, Springer shotgun all day long.
I mean, you could take a Springer pistol if you really wanted to.
I have seen it. So I used to work down at Bristol Airsoft in the courts.
Yeah.
Famous, but I like my 417s. I like those things. I got my first ever TM recoil on it. It was the 417 shot. and I was unpacking it in there and having a look, and people were coming around because there was a lot of people hadn't really seen TM recoils at this point.
Yeah.
I'll never forget bet you can't use that for CQB. I did. And we'll have fun with it. The VFC G28 that we featured in one of our videos, the thing, a monster. I was playing at Black Ops in Cribs Causeway. They knew who I was, knew I was into CQB, and the head marshal, bet you can't use that for CQB. So we cleared 3 of their buildings with it, which I probably shouldn't have, because it was a DMR and firing at quite a tasty FPS. It was probably quite mean on the poor sods in the building, but anything can be used, really. It's about how you wield it and have a bit of confidence in yourself.
Yeah. And the second question that we have is actually quite an interesting one. With gas weapons getting better and better, should I look at switching to an all-gas loadout?
Switching is different to start. I wouldn't start with an all-gas loadout. But if you want to, yeah, I've got mates that have done it. They've gone TN MWS, which is one of the best gas systems out there.
Yeah.
But that I've got mates that went to the GHK stuff, and they haven't looked back. So, do you know what? If it's what you want, if you want the ultimate realism, it's about what you play Airsoft for. If you want the ultimate in realism, you want gas blowback, because they operate just like the real thing. You've got to cock it like the real thing. The mag capacity isn't far off what you would expect in a real gun. A little bit more, but generally speaking, it's more to it. They have the same problems that real guns have in terms of they can jam. Yeah. And you've got to clear it on the fly. They're expensive. You're trebling, possibly more than trebling in some cases, your cost of mags. The weight is unbelievable. You want to get to the gym if you're going to do it, because the mags gassed, they don't weigh much on their own, but once you've got 4 or 5 of them on, about it.
Yeah.
Your gas consumption is going to go through the roof. If you don't get a decent gas blowback rifle, it's going to be useless when it gets cold. But TM will be fine. I believe they tested them on Mount Fuji in the snow. So it comes down to, if you want it, if it's what you want, if it's gonna put a big grin on your face. And I've done gas blowback and it was brilliant. The only reason I got rid of my gas blowback rifle is I didn't play enough to warrant having it.
Yeah.
They're maintenance heavy.
Yeah.
Because just like us, like gas shotguns, you almost want real world style maintenance. You want to oil it before and after use to seals stay together. But yeah, absolutely, if it's what you want, if it turns you on. But just do your research and make sure you're not buying an absolute pup, because there is some utter crap out there.
Yeah.
There's also some really amazingly engineered stuff.
Okay, well, I think this might be this might be worth a difference, like a segment in its own thing. But what's your opinion on HPA versus any other kind of gas delivery system?
I've owned HPA. I got nothing against it. I didn't enjoy using it. Now, things where, technically speaking, it's the most efficient system.
Yeah.
System. But for me, it's soulless. It's like using a non-blowback pistol and an electric pistol. I find them soulless. And that doesn't mean I'm right, because other people use them and really enjoy them.
Yeah.
But a gas blowback pistol, I like something that, that clacks in my hand when I'm using it.
Yeah.
And even an AEG that just, they're also just a lot of money. It comes down to if you really want to spend the money, fine. But shouldn't look down on other people that don't want to spend the money, because some people can afford it, they just choose not to. And it comes down to, again, It really is horses for courses. It's down to what you want to use, what you want to run around with. HPA is not new as well. So when I was at Bristol Airsoft, we bought I thought it was like 40, 50 guns for a collector who decided that you had to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Was a Maruzen Mach 11, which had a line coming out of it, and there was an empty can of gas in there, which was used as an expansion chamber. This came out before there were AGs, so this, we are talking early 90s here, if not a bit earlier. This was kind of the one up from Springers.
Yeah.
And you screwed a can of gas on, and then you had your expansion chamber, and it took a can of 134A gas, which is now outlawed. It's now 144A, which is known as duster gas. It's the level below green gas, sometimes known as blue gas. And that was the original. So it's kind of always been there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of hate towards HPA. A lot of it is down to when it first came out, you tended to find it was a particular type of people using it. A bit like for those of you of a certain age, when the iPhone first came out, there was a particular type of people that used the iPhone. I am now an iPhone user, by the way, so I'm nothing against iPhone users. But we used to nickname people that used iPhones iPhone wankers. You might want to bleep that. Because it was it ruined the pub conversation. It'd be, you used to have these really random conversations that went on for hours and were hilarious in pubs. And now it's want to ask a question and someone would go, I'll look it up on my iPhone. And it was very much the same sort of person suddenly got HPA, where they almost wanted you to know they had HPA. It was a bit of a status symbol. There was a handful of people that, because they spent over £1,000 on their gun, they didn't want to take their hit from rentals.
Yeah.
And that's not all that, it was a handful, but the problem is they've all been marred with that same brush. And you tend to get a lot of speed soft players use them.
Yeah.
And the players, they've got a bad reputation. I personally don't think they all deserve. Yes, there are a few arses, but you get arses in milsim, you get in skirmishing, in all of it. But these are people that just want to sprint around, get their enjoyment from kind of the adrenaline of running into rooms, and so it's got its place. It's definitely got its place. And if you want to spend your money on it, that's absolutely fine. I just, it's not like you need my permission, but it comes down to, if you really want it.
Yeah, I suppose. So that's, we'll probably, what was that?
It's not really very controversial today.
No, we can't be super controversial every week, I guess.
Well, dang.
So we're probably going to wrap it up there for today. Thank you very much for listening, guys. This has been, the PewHub podcast. Actually, comment down below what you think the name should be. I think that's probably a better idea. Put it to the people and see what they say.
And if you've got any topics you want us to cover, so not necessarily individual questions, but if you want us to chew over a particular thing, such as, I think going at the moment about the pros and cons of a governing body, etc., anything like that, if you want kind of the lowdown on VCRA, anything like that, you can either comment, drop us a message, anything you want, and we will try and line up some of these subjects that you want us to discuss. Yeah, and obviously later in the week, at some point, we will be posting on our social media questions that you have for us. So if you want to get in contact, either just leave a message or leave a comment on those posts, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.